I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome. Here we are. Lanny, we're just one step closer to
I know,
season.
the sun's been shining out there.
Temperature is finally, we're not an ice box now.
Finally warm.
Now, there's always something to be depressed about, but then the worst thing is right when the fish are going to start biting, and you could slip out and hear one gobbling one. We got to go on
I guarantee
We got to go out of town on
Gotta go out of
business.
town.
I guarantee you some gobbled this morning.
No doubt about it.
And to me, and y'all probably agree with this, but turkey season starts like the day deer season is over.
Well, it starts the day you can go out and listen to one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But we don't need to forget about our deer. We talked about that this morning.
No.
February is a game-keeping month.
No,
So lots of stuff to do out there. Dudley, I know you've been busy. Bobby, you've been busy. No, you've been busy.
I have, but not burning it up like I like to, literally.
I'll tell you what, and let's go ahead and get our guests
my bad.
introduced. So we've got Dr. Marcus Lashley from
In the
Florida
house.
down there.
Straight out of Sumter
There he
County.
is.
Yeah, that's right.
And then we've got Dr. Will Gulsby from Auburn.
All right.
And they are look how excited Will is.
They got both got turkeys behind them.
Marcus always gives me a hard time when we open on our show.
You know,
Turkeys on the brain.
Will helps balance out because our opinion of Auburn's just coming from being around Bobby, and whew, it needs it needs a counterbalance. So,
Shining.
Will,
for sure.
you help their image a ton.
I better keep working out because that's a load to tow.
No doubt.
So circling back to what Lanny said, though, February being a gamekeeper month, there's one thing a lot of folks overlook that needs to be done in February.
What is this?
And I want to get these guys' opinions too. It's a great time to scout for next year because you can see deer trails that are so obvious.
Yeah.
And in areas that you
Everything's
didn't
really
want to go
open.
during deer season because you were scared you're going to bump a deer out or something, you can
Going
go in
in
there
there.
now and look and see what's going on.
That's
Yeah, we're
exactly
doing that while we're gamekeeping,
Yep.
right?
I did that yesterday with my kids, toting squirrel guns,
There we go.
That's
picking up some sheds
great-
too.
That's my number one
Great
go.
thing to do.
Yeah. Did y'all find any sheds?
We did. We found one side of a nice 8-point that I hunted unsuccessfully this year.
Oh,
All right.
cool.
Good
Well, you
for
know he's
y'all.
still around then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
He'll be a good one next year.
Yeah,
That's
I think
right.
he was 4. So if he's 5 next year, hopefully he'll make a little jump.
Hey,
Be a
Marcus, just
bumper.
like the typical Auburn fan. Just wait on
know.
next year.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, we've been that way at Mississippi State.
Yeah, I was about to say,
dogs.
hold
Actually,
on.
I make that joke about MSU sometimes, so in good faith.
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
Will, just to ground you in reality, though, today that deer still probably has another 24 hours he's got to survive.
Yeah, a little bit more than that.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
he
true. I
does.
didn't
We don't
think
go
about
out till
that.
tomorrow. That's right. And hunted a good bit 2 weekends ago as well. And my wife actually saw what looked like a pretty big body mature deer that had already shed both sides.
Oh,
Whoa.
So, yeah,
happening fast.
a little early.
Yeah.
It's crazy how they do that because, like we talked about before,
We'll see 'em in
I
turkey
found
season.
sheds late January, and I've seen them full rack in
Yeah, in
Alabama
April.
in 1st of April.
April.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
That's
those
right.
two.
So
is.
weird.
Very odd. Well, look, we're going to talk turkeys today.
Imagine that.
Look,
It's that
guys,
time. It's turkey time.
when you think about it, I was mentioning to Richie earlier that, you set that alarm clock a
here
little
we
bit
go.
earlier.
Here we go.
You get up and you stop at the gas station. You get
It's
your
got to be
coffee.
dramatic.
When you're looking out at the sky and stars are everywhere, you drive to your hunting spot and you get out and you ease the door shut.
Thank
and
you, Richie.
And you walk down there and you're sitting down, you got your vest on and you're listening.
Yep.
You maybe waiting on an
Waiting.
owl
Yeah.
or a crow or
Hoping.
something. But listen, just that anticipation of hearing that first gobble. And then one gobbles and maybe he's in the same spot you thought he would be in. And you've got that intel immediately that you can take away and wait till that first morning of the season.
Oh, it's not hunting season
No, it's
yet?
not hunting
Okay,
season.
my bad.
You're just trying to find out where they are.
Okay.
It's such a great time
It
to
is.
be out in the woods.
Bobby,
be
you
alive.
you never made it as a salesman. I don't know what the deal is.
I'm sold.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do y'all go out and listen for them to gobble before the season, or do you just roll up your sleeves and go that first morning?
Heck yeah.
No, I go listen.
I always go listen. I can't stand it.
Oh, man, I have to.
And
Well-
I'll tell you guys now that we have some turkeys right down the road, and I know right where they're going to be every time I go over there. They are gobbling every time you go out there. They get really excited, and that is sending that same jolt of
Oh.
adrenaline up my spine.
Are you
I
talking
bet so.
about your buddies at school? Those turkeys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I forgot. He's
Well,
got-
yes.
They're all Jakes, but some of them have a full gobble now. And
They're super jakes.
Yeah,
That's right.
Tell us what's
Yes.
going on with your study right now, Marcus. Let's start there.
yeah, well, we could start there. That study has just been an eye-opening thing after another. Right now, we are starting to move them into individual places where we have a male with 2 females, and what we're doing is, they're kind of getting hot now. Some of them are from South Florida, so they start getting pretty rowdy in mid-February, and we are going to look at mate selection, try to figure out what is it about the males that females find attractive. So that same process is going to yield, eggs later in the year, and we'll use that to do a second iteration of the poult imprinting that we did, where we have the habitat treatments. And right now we are trying to work out the mate selection part of it. So I think it's just been a phenomenal study from day one, but it gives you so many opportunities like that, and we're trying to get as much out of it as we can, obviously. So that's what's on the horizon right now. So we moved them just a few days ago, and next week we're expecting the mate selection trials to start.
Wow.
You think that'll be more physiologically based or behavior based as far as what attracts them most?
Well, based on some of the previous work that's been done, I suspect there will be some physical traits that predict it. Particularly snood length and skull cap width were the 2 things that females selected in previous studies, and I think that's probably what we will find. But we have some added layers in it. One of the things that I'm very interested in is the way that we're cycling males through. None of them are related to each other, but some grew up together, so they don't know that they're not related.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this added layer where the hen will know some of the males and won't know some of the males because they've never met. None of them are related, but she'll know that she knows one, presumably, and not the other. And I'm really curious to see how strong that instinct is to avoid, males that she knows. So
That she grew up with.
That's going to be really interesting to see.
The deer thing, is very
studied that.
obvious. I think at a year and a half, if he's around his mom, I don't know if it's her that runs him off, or I think she runs him off.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember saying they will go a long ways away to get away from their mom at a year and a half.
Is it a year and a half, or is it half a year?
I think it's a year and a half. He's not in danger of breeding anybody at a half a year.
Well,
So
then,
I'm pretty sure it's a year and a half, but they might be more aware of that.
there was a study on deer. Yeah.
Definitely, it is definitely a fact that they do that though.
Mm-hmm.
What is that age, Will?
Usually around a year and a half. Yeah, as they get that first set of antlers.
Okay, well, Toxie, I bow to your knowledge.
I wouldn't say I'm
Nailed it.
sure if I wasn't. And one of the things they were also talking about it's been years ago, that shooting the older does might help you keep those same bucks on your place.
One that
Of
had
course, you don't know at a
button
year and a
up.
half if it's going to be a superstar or not to do that, but that's one of the rationale for shooting the older does.
It
too.
lessens
so those bucks will
dispersion.
stay there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Marcus, I got a question. Did y'all experience the bumper acorn crop this year around those turkeys? And how did they have access to acorns, or did y'all supplement them with acorns?
Well, that's a good question. The first part of your question, yes, we had a bumper crop everywhere that I have been in the South. Has been a bumper crop, and I'm really hopeful that we're going to have a good year with turkeys, because the females should be coming into the breeding season in good condition.
Yay.
So I'm hopeful, if we can get the weather to align and participate maybe we'll have a big crop of turkeys this year. The other part of your question, they do not have direct access, but we did do some experiments this year, which we're still working through the data because we videoed all of it, but we provided them access to about 25 species of oaks and also 5 species of chestnuts, including the American chestnut. And we were looking at diet selection, and it was really cool because the turkeys had never seen an acorn before. They didn't know what it was.
Huh.
And we started there and then, basically repeated the experiment over and over as they gained experience with it to see how their selection changes as they develop a knowledge of what the food is. So it's going to be really interesting. We're not quite ready with the results, but they had a bumper crop, I guess, so to speak, because we were feeding them acorns.
I can't. I've had a lengthy back and forth with Mark Drury this weekend. He was talking about different stuff and family things, but I said something. Y'all have that crazy mast up there? Oh yeah. So I don't know how widespread that is. Dudley's talking to more people than you probably, but I don't know of anywhere that doesn't reply. Yeah, it was crazy. Mm-hmm. I wonder why. And then what's the explanation? I don't know.
Well, so Will, let me ask you this. So could we, with deer coming out of the winter and the rut, and probably with all these acorns in great shape, could button bucks coming out of this, would they have a head start on that first set of antlers? Would that give them a head start in life and growing antlers? Or is it the offspring that'll be dropped this summer that could potentially turn into a shooting superstar?
That's a good question. I don't, maybe Marcus can speak to it, but I haven't really seen any data that directly addresses that. I know, let's see. There was some work in the Southern Appalachians back, I want to say in the early 90s, that did find a correlation between beam length in the previous year's acorn crop. But I don't know if that was age class specific. So, that's even better, really, right? It was across age classes that they found an effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you got to think, just like Marcus was saying, hens are healthier. Hopefully the does are going to be healthy. I've noticed not as much pressure on the food plots. I don't know if y'all have.
I noticed in the does that I cleaned this year, it seemed like they had a much thicker layer of rump fat than usual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know the one I harvested this year was just unbelievable. In fact, I may have even made a post about it. The kidney fat index was the highest I had ever observed.
Wow. That's the sign right there, too.
Yeah.
So if I remember right, some of the earlier research, and my two I would always have had listened to or read something on or heard would have been either, your two universities, with either Dr. Speak at Auburn or George Hurst at State, but it was indicating that a bumper acorn crop, not only did the hens have a better nest season that year, which is obvious, but the turkeys gobbled better and the hunting was better because of it too, as opposed to a really lean year. So I don't know what the data was behind that, but it certainly makes sense.
That was in one of Hurst's papers. I don't know if Speak ever talked about that. Maybe you'll know, Will, but I remember distinctly in one of the projects that Hurst was working on, they mentioned that they thought gobbling was better. But there's been a few studies with hen condition showing that better hen condition leads to a higher nest initiation rate. It was even higher clutch size, wasn't it, in the Arkansas study?
And earlier nesting too. I think it was up to 2 weeks. Yeah.
And this has been a long time ago. They would say, because everybody, between deer and turkey season, even, the best intention people like to feed their turkeys and stuff like that. And they would always say, okay, if you just insist on doing that, include some soybeans in with that, because that little boost in protein this time of year will make a difference. And I remember them telling us that. If you think you're going to do that, whatever you do, just don't throw some corn or something out. Be sure you get them some good protein.
So, in theory, if it could make them nest earlier, then, it should definitely affect gobbling activity, you would think. I know I'm just being kind of throwing a dart at it right here, but that's what I do.
And
I think that's a logical reasonable. Yeah. For them to gobble is somewhat of an energy demand, right?
That's
and
true
they
too.
Also don't have to spend as much time foraging, maybe they spend more time gobbling, but if they're in better condition, if they don't need to eat as much.
Feel better, probably.
Yeah, I feel better when I'm full.
Well, yeah.
I try to go to sleep, though, as I'm getting old.
So, guys, what do y'all hear most people? What could the average guy do on their property in the spring of the year that could improve the overall hunting long term, not just necessarily short term? But if you had to pick one or two things, what would you guys start with?
So I don't want to speak for Marcus, but I was going to say we're habitat guys. So that's exactly where my mind goes first and foremost. And, this time of year, just like we were talking before we hit record, it's time to burn and focus on that reproductive habitat, that I shouldn't say reproductive habitat. Craig Harper will call me out on that, but that brooding cover and that nesting cover, and thinking about making more turkeys so that we can have more turkeys in the future. And I also think a lot about, we've got several species of cool season grasses, pasture grasses that'll be emerging this time of year. One in particular that, infest a lot of our food plots is ryegrass. And I think about, we're getting close to the time of year to start controlling that to make sure that brooding cover in particular does not get so dense that the poults can't move through it easily, access food, escape from predators easily, and probably most importantly, allow those other plants to grow that are producing seed and insects for turkeys.
So, Dr. Harper probably is the master at that question. But I've been going through my mind. I want to get y'all's opinion on it because y'all could help me. We've got a lot of invasive grasses, like even now, and the worst one is the old native ryegrass and stuff. But there's others, and I'm just dying to go smoke them like right now and just release the clovers and stuff. And I'm thinking, but with this sudden warm up, shouldn't I wait just a little bit longer? Want a few more emerge? What would you be doing as far as that, when you want to hit those grasses? Would you do it right now? Would you think you would wait for a little more emergence? And I'm talking, North Mississippi, Central Alabama.
Well, I think the main thing is that you want enough of the grass exposed that it can catch the chemical, but you also need to be careful not to let the plant go to seed.
Right.
So you're kind of starting in that window now, and you got a little more time with ryegrass. So it wouldn't hurt you to wait a little longer, but in most cases, when you have a ryegrass problem, I'm focused on that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If you take care of that problem, you're addressing most of your problem. Now, if you have crab grasses, which would be a warm season plant, you might want to be a little bit later to let that emerge.
Or Bahia grass or Bermuda grass.
Right.
I'd wait a little bit longer on those, maybe even into April.
Yes, from listening to you, one thing about it a little bit earlier is that the grasses are smaller, as long as it's kind of warm enough that they're growing and absorbing it. But the good answer, if you have a bad grass invasion of both, then you probably need to plan on spraying it twice.
Yes.
Sounds like.
Yeah.
Clethodim.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. One application is probably not going to do it.
Yeah, I like clethodim for the ryegrass. If you get into things like Bahia grass, you're going to have to switch chemicals and wait a little bit later in the year. I typically prefer Escort, metsulfuron methyl for Bahia grass, and then I'll switch over to Imazapyr Arsenal AC for Bermuda grass.
Wow, that Bermuda's tough.
Smoke it, yeah.
It is. Yeah.
You're going to have to go after it a few times.
Yeah, and that is a question that we get a lot when we provide that kind of advice. A lot of landowners and managers, and rightfully so, are concerned that applications of those chemicals will also reduce the coverage of desirable plants for turkeys and other wildlife. And while that is true, Marcus and I have tons of examples of places where we have implemented that strategy. And, it's a short-term sacrifice for a very major long-term gain in terms of the native plant diversity that can yield in that area once it's been properly controlled. I think the other thing that I would throw out there too is if folks are thinking about implementing those treatments, be aware that it's just not a one-time broadcast application, but you're going to miss some spots and have to come back and spot spray over time.
Right.
Yeah, no, ultimately your goal is to get the plant community to maintenance.
That's right.
We're not trying to do a broadcast herbicide application every time we turn around.
Right.
You're trying to address a problem up front so that you're just in maintenance mode then. And then when a problem pops up, you might spot spray to take care of it. But you're not really trying to manage long term where you're going to need this repeated broadcast herbicide application. You're trying to get rid of the problem so that you don't have to do that in the future.
Yeah, and also now y'all sold me on being sure to be prepared for two. Feels like if you go ahead and pretty soon you smoke it, especially the ryegrass and all, if you've got clover there and things you want, it'll have a better chance of spreading out and kind of choking out some of the stuff that comes around like April and May. Yeah. And you might not have quite as big a problem too.
Yep.
And I think there's some pre-emergence you could use in the fall too, and possibly save yourself some time in the spring to burn more.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of experience with that, but I've heard the good Dr. Craig talk about it a good bit, and I know he's got some prescriptions in his book for that.
That's right.
You'd put that on in the fall when you're planting.
Yes, you can. With it depends on what you plant.
Yeah, sure.
But
yeah, it's just like putting pre-emergent on your lawn for crabgrass.
So, Will, what?
Yeah, that can save you a lot of problems. Also, like you're saying, Dudley, a lot of headache can be avoided with the appropriate pre-emergent herbicide.
Yep. I think Pursuit, the active ingredient in Pursuit is one of them.
I forgot the name. They've got a couple of
Mazavapir.
They've got
They've
got a good one for the ryegrass. I can't remember the name. I may think of
Holon.
Yeah, but there's
a new one.
There's a newer one in it, and it doesn't ding up your wheat or oats at all, and not the clover either. But it's a pre-emerge. Best is a pre-emerge. I'll think of it in a minute.
That's helpful.
Are you talking about Axial?
Axial, that's right, because our good friends.
Yep.
At Nutrient.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about that? So, hey, Will, what have you been doing since last time we talked? What studies, what have you learned? What could you tell us that we'd be like, aha, that you've learned?
We need some aha moments.
Yeah. Well, Marcus and I kind of chatted about that a little bit before coming on today. And I think, one of the things that we were most excited to talk about was a study that we actually got to work on together. And we were able to make use, not necessarily of new data that we'd gone out and collected, but actually to compile a lot of results from previous turkey studies from the literature to answer some important questions. And what we were specifically focused on was adult hen survival and kind of what prompted this. And Marcus, feel free to jump in and correct me if I missed something here. But in several of these ongoing studies, that have been done across the Southeast and even beyond recently, we've really started to notice that hen survival rates are kind of scarily low. And surprisingly low. And even in some years on some study sites, none of the hens are making it through. And so we wondered, what role is this potentially playing in some of the observed population declines that we've been seeing in different areas?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on, Will. And I'll just point out for folks that aren't familiar, when you actually look at what is driving a population of turkeys, most people think about nesting and then maybe brooding next, but really the hen survival is the most important thing in the population. That's what is driving whether or not it's growing or stable or declining. In every study, back all the way into the 80s, when we have looked to see what influences the population's trajectory most, it is hen survival. And like Will said, some of the recent studies, the hen survival is so low, it made me kind of raise my eyebrows. And I was, thinking about that. And same with other folks. We got together, a bunch of scientists, Will and I, and Coulter Chitwood. I think you guys talked to him some, and his spouse. We got together and started talking about that, and then decided we would scour the literature and see what information do we have out there. We ended up collecting every study that's ever been published on turkeys that reported a hen survival all the way back to 1978. That was the first one. And what we found when we put all that together and then modeled that over time is that somewhere in the mid-2000s, hen survival kind of fell off a cliff. So it was stable. And just for you guys, we've kind of ignored it for about 30 years because that metric has been stable.
Yeah, it was always kind of high and stable. So researchers were like, yeah, we know this is important, but it's always kind of high and stable. So let's move on to other things that we can actually, potentially manipulate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
My anecdotal evidence, and I bet y'all will agree with me, is it just seems like you'd be hunting and call up random hens that just show up. Or, and to me, that doesn't happen nearly as much as it used to. You go and set up on a tree and call, and, maybe one or two hens just show up and walk by,
Yeah.
And I don't have that happen near as often as I used to.
Yeah. And I mean, you think about the huge hen flocks too that you don't see anymore.
Just about to bring that up, looking specifically.
We used to see these turkeys were, as I've talked about before, they were trapped over on the Mississippi River. My dad got released here, and man, it would be nothing to see a herd of 40, 50, 55, hens
in the wintertime.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we're not
maybe a few mixed jakes with them that they had raised, but I mean, no longbeards at all, just all. I remember we let them trap, and it was about maybe 6 or 8 years from the time they released them, and the population just exploded. But they shot the cannon, and it was like they said 60-something hens in the field when they shot it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I've seen a big group like that around here.
I can remember where I was, but I can't remember when it was. I was on your place.
Yeah, I mean, between trail cameras and just me around here and then people that have been hunting that we let go and stuff, I mean, 8 or 10, 12, if you got a pretty good size flock,
Yeah, and Toxie, I think you said something that, you hit the nail on the head right there where you talked about the population exploded. When you have that high carryover year over year, that's exactly what happens. And in wildlife biology, we call it exponential growth. Yeah, and it's exactly what you see in a deer population where you have low doe harvest, and most of those does make it through year after year if they don't get hit by a car or something else. And the population just grows exponentially, just like, we talk about investment strategies, right? But when that survival is low and you're not carrying as many birds year over year, and also with turkeys being so cyclical in terms of having good years of reproduction and bad years of reproduction that can oftentimes be, weather dependent, you really need to make sure you're carrying enough hens so that you can take advantage of the good times and make it through the lean ones.
Yeah. Dead hens don't have nests or poults.
Well, that's an easier way to say it, Marcus.
So, well, and I'll add to that, when going back to that study, when, we didn't stop at, hen survival has declined. Well, that's kind of telling us this is the problem right here. Right. And we went farther. We took the contemporary, recent hen survival estimates over about the last decade or so and we put them into a model and looked at what the population trajectory would be and then compared that to historical. And even when we take high nesting, so we know what the high end of what we could expect for nesting success is and poult rearing success, the other things that are going into that population's trajectory. Even when those things are at the high end of what we've observed and, what's the potential for a turkey population, even when they're at that high end with nesting success and poult rearing success, it doesn't overcome the hen survival problem. So that tells us we've got to figure out what is causing that decline and correct that if we want to get past this.
I've actually, in the last and I've gotten into the woods less than ever in my life this winter. I went for, just kind of reminiscing, Dad's life and all the last week and a half. I've been just getting on a ATV or a four-wheel or something, just kind of riding some of the stuff we've done and doing that. So I've got out, but my point, I've gotten out some, and I found 3 carcasses. I've never seen that many, and it just looked like to me they were like 1-year-old hens by the size of them. They'd been eaten. One, there wasn't a lot of feathers right there but it could have gotten carried over there from where they killed it. But the other ones were lots and lots of feathers, so I know what got them. But I've never seen before. I know that's just one part of the puzzle, and it's not all the bobcats and coats or whatever, but definitely have seen more myself in the last, say, 4 years, where I find, and by the look of the feathers, other than a trapper that found one for sure that was a Jake, they're almost always hens. And I just wonder if they're more vulnerable to a bobcat or even an eagle or something, you know, or a coyote or, you know, whatever can catch them.
Yeah, they absolutely are.
Yeah, especially, you know, if we fast forward a little bit, when, you know, if you look at when hens die, it's during the reproduction season, particularly when she's sitting on a nest through the night during incubation. The majority of hen mortality, and this is going across all these studies, including the stuff that we have ongoing now, that's when the hens die, is particularly when they're sitting on a nest through the night in incubation, or when the hen has a brood with her that can't fly yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason they like to roost in trees whenever they can. It makes them a lot safer.
Yeah. So we've I guess started down several paths trying to figure out this problem, and we have a bunch of ongoing work. And I think, you know, I'll back up for a minute. When hens die, it's usually because of predation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that predators are the problem. That could be the problem, but I know folks roll their eyes when I say that. But the same outcome happens whenever it's a habitat problem. The reason there's a habitat problem is she gets eaten. Right. So, like, that's what the outcome of poor habitat is also. And we have work ongoing right now that suggests the quality of nesting and brooding cover is really influencing how likely she is to get predated during that process. So, you know, that's a really important aspect of it. And more recently, we've also started a project that will be long-term, looking at the predator aspect of that as well. Like, you know, is implementing predator removal a practical way to address the situation? So we have work going on both of them, and so far we have some preliminary evidence to suggest habitat is playing a big role in that, and that definitely has changed over the same time frame.
Yeah,
and really interesting.
And I'll add to that, Marcus, that you know, we've known for a long time that predators are the number one cause of mortality for turkeys at pretty much all life stages. However, the question that we've had much more difficulty answering is, what can we effectively do about that as managers? You know, how effectively can we reduce predator populations through trapping? What, you know, size area do we need to trap to do that? What does that program need to look like? And how can we do it with habitat? And what is the relative contribution of those two different factors? So there's a lot that goes into this. And that's really what we're trying to solve right now is the answer to where is our time best spent to address this issue.
Interesting. I know, because we've learned that, I mean, you have to stay on the predators, and as soon as you quit, they're coming back.
Well, it feels like almost just always we visit these questions. It's our life's love.
Yeah.
There's never one answer. Rarely is there one answer anyway. And I would say, from listening to y'all, at least to make the trapping work, or all the hard work, much harder a lot of times, of getting, you know, managing habitat properly.
Right.
If you really want the magic, have a chance at the magic, you've got to do both, you know.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I think you're hitting it on the head, Toxie, that the best chance is that they will be done together, right? And I'll just, you know, kind of backing up to the poult work for a minute. Without high quality nesting cover, if you did really effectively control predators, you might increase the hen survival. She can survive without having very good cover, but the poults cannot. A poult that is 3 or 4 or 5 days old, if it does not have the right type of vegetation of a community available, it will die to exposure or to insect limitation. The predators are not even relevant. Like, you can get rid of all of them, and that's still going to be a bottleneck because of those other things that limit poults when predators aren't there. So I think that's an important point for you to think about. Doing them in tandem can potentially be very effective, but not having the appropriate habitat is going to be detrimental regardless of predators.
Mm-hmm.
So it pops in my mind, one of the things we love to do that can possibly affect the insects is burning. And is it like, if you did a late season burn from last year, or did you do one in the middle of the winter, or like right now is the best time I usually have in the next couple of weeks, or even, as you said, don't be scared too in the season. Is there a certain thing? I mean, it seems like the early tender green stuff that grows back from burning might be the best stuff to create more insects.
Yeah.
But then maybe you should burn a few patches on into the season just a little bit. Be brave enough to. Maybe if you're scared of a nest, just do it just prior to when they nest. But I comment on that. Was there anything you could do? I know plant communities have a lot to do with it, but as far as timing, the easiest thing for average bubbas like us to do is burn,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Marcus.
I'm sorry, I got excited about
Torch man.
We both think and talk about this a lot, but I would say, Toxie, to start out more broadly, and then we can get more specific with my answer to your question, is focusing on native forbs. Native forbs are going to be, some of your best insect attractors and producers. Many of those species also have the added benefit of being prolific seed producers, for adults, and then the poults as they start to change over to more of a grain-based diet. And then I would, those forbs also are high crude protein summer deer forage as well. So, they really check a lot of boxes at the same time for you. So what do we do to encourage those forbs? I would say first and foremost, pay attention to your fire frequency. And then if I start to see issues with, burning consistently on the same frequency during the same season, I start to get dominated by, let's say, native warm season grass, because native warm season grass oftentimes becomes dominant when we burn on a short fire rotation. And by that, I mean, usually every 2 years or so during the winter time. So when I start to see that encroachment by that native warm season grass, I think, okay, now is when I start thinking about strategies that I can use to reduce that to favor more of the forb cover. And that might entail burning on into, summer or even the late growing season, that early fall period, which, some of the work that Marcus and I were lucky to be involved in that was led by Dr. Craig Harper at the University of Tennessee showed that later growing season burn window was really effective at increasing that forb coverage without encouraging quite so much grass. You're still going to get grass back no matter what time you burn, but just due to the timing of when the various species produce that seed, coupled with that disturbance and basically creating a nice, a nice prepared seed bed, you can, by burning during that time of the year, somewhat encourage that forb growth. And I also think about in more open areas, something that I recommend to landowners and managers that I work with is if you can get a disc in there, during the winter time, running a kind of a moderate intensity disking through that native warm season grass can help break it up and also stimulate germination of that forb seed in the seed bank as well. So the long and short answer is focus on forbs, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'll add to that. The timing of fire can be really important to address issues like the fall or early fall, late summer fire can help shift the plant community to be more forb dominated. But another thing, especially I've seen it with a few of the landowners that I work with, their growing season is long because they're in the south, they get a lot of rainfall and they have productive soil, and the plant community succession is extremely fast. Mm-hmm. So when you're thinking about managing brooding cover, there's a couple of components that are really important here. One is that we need forb dominance and insect production in that. Another is we need an open way for poults to move around through the vegetation at the ground level. So kind of think of it like this, the forbs are a canopy over the poults and they're running around underneath that. And that needs to be relatively clean because we don't want them to be obstructed. Think about like a sod forming grass. If it's underneath those forbs, that might obstruct their movement, but it also might cause them a problem with getting wet. But another component that is usually not thought of is the height of the vegetation. You remember there's a hen with those poults and she's living by her eyes. So she needs to be taller than that vegetation. And she's walking around kind of scoping out what's going on, and she might be foraging around a little bit as well. The poults are underneath the vegetation, so the height of the forbs is not that important, but it is for that hen to be safe in that context. So the reason I'm bringing that up is the timing of your disturbance might depend on what conditions you're in. You might be able to burn in February and that plant community be optimal by the time they're brooding, or it might be too productive and it's already too tall.
Yeah.
I've seen places where the ragweed's already 5 foot tall.
Yeah. In the
That's
Black
a
Belt of
problem.
Alabama, that's a problem all the time.
Yeah, so that might be a case where delaying the burning a little bit later into the season can really help you.
Yeah.
Hey guys, let me ask this. I'm listening to you. It's just your wealth of information, but it just bubbled up in my mind. A quail hen, she's probably got these same problems that a turkey hen's got. But maybe is it as this that when you go back in time to this study, Marcus, you mentioned 1978 when y'all first started recognizing that the researchers were talking about hen survival. As the habitat landscape may have changed, making it tougher on hens to nest, would the quail have fallen out first? Would they have been an indicator that things were going bad early? Is there any parallels there?
I think so, Bobby. And I think that the reason that quail are presumably more sensitive to these habitat changes and the lack of the cover that we're describing in the modern day is because they are more, obligated to that cover type, that early successional cover type, and whereas, wild turkeys are more of a generalist species. If you just look at their habitat use on a year-round basis, they use everything from bottomland hardwoods to upland early successional areas and everything in between, whereas the quail are more confined to those early successional areas.
Yeah, now I'll add to that just a thought experiment to think this through and connect to what I was just talking about a few minutes ago. With quail, the hen and the brood are underneath that canopy, which is one of the important things with quail. When you don't have that kind, it's a problem for the adult survival also. But with the sort of a difference between the two as well, when you're looking at the quality of early succession, the quail might do just fine with that 5 foot ragweed, whereas the turkeys, it's getting too tall because the hen needs to be able to see over it, whereas the hen and the bobwhite is underneath it with the brood.
But when we go on places and we start increasing the coverage of brooding and nesting cover with the objective of increasing turkey populations, almost 100% of the time we get feedback from the landowner or the manager, I've got quail now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Another thing, just to throw it out there, the other thing that they say is our turkeys have blown up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just got an example of this. Of landowner I was working with in Georgia just saw the largest flock he's ever seen ever. He's been working real hard on that property for about 3 or 4 years now, implementing various strategies, and he thinks the group is near 100.
Wowzer.
When's the last time that was seen in the South? That's not that common.
Don't let Bobby try to get it out.
Look at Bobby. He's like, what? Could you drop me an Onyx pen?
We're not going to go any
he needs
any finer in scale than Georgia.
Yeah, Bobby needs to be a guest on a future podcast.
But I'm getting comments from other people who email me frequently from Georgia, and they're not seeing that. They're concerned about their turkey population. They're asking me questions, trying to improve things. But in that case, things turned around and they literally have seen the biggest group ever.
That's great.
Wow.
I'm rewinding a little bit. We were talking about how it just seemed like there used to be a lot more hens. And I think the data suggests there were a lot more hens back in the day. But, so from like about 40 to 20 years ago, if you were to look at an aerial map, you would just see all these squares of various stages of loblolly pine production. Everything from, one growing season old that was probably decent early successional habitat, to where it gets to be about 5 years old and it's, doesn't have a lot of food. Nowadays, when you look at an aerial map, you just see vast expanses of mature pine.
Yeah.
And not a whole lot of variation you don't see that patchwork effect.
Yeah.
You just see a lot of pines that nobody can get thinned or cut. And 30
That's
years
right.
ago, it was just squares of different colors everywhere and different stages.
Yeah.
And I just can't help but think that that's possibly one of the bigger reasons.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
these hens aren't living as long.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten to the point now where, timber markets for many of us in the Southeast are such that if pulpwood will pay its way off the property, we're in pretty good shape, and then concurrent with that same situation, and maybe what has even exacerbated it is, the Farm Bill and the CRP program had a lot of open agricultural lands across the Southeast planted into plantation pine. And a lot of that wood, is now becoming mature or has already been mature for a long period of time and has not been actively managed. So, kind of tying a lot of what we've talked about together, we have these open areas that are now oftentimes dominated by exotic pasture grasses, which reduces their quality and their usability to turkeys. And then our forests are more mature than they ever have been and less frequently burned than ever, more close canopy than ever. And so, what's a turkey to do at that point in time?
Interesting.
It's kind of depressing when you listen.
Yeah.
To
Well, if you can
Small
figure out,
and big picture.
the things that are changing it, we can at least start preventing it.
Well, it's actionable. It's actionable.
It's actionable. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we have seen and shown is that individual landowners can do a lot of work to really turn things around and make a huge impact. And when you start getting to scale where lots of landowners are doing that collectively, then we start turning the ship around.
It seems like, the recreational value of land has kind of taken the forefront.
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
These days, now that it's, it's harder to get your timber cut, unless you're an institutional type forest landowner.
Yeah, especially pines. No doubt.
Yeah.
So,
Will, do you spend more time talking turkeys or deer to people, or I guess it could be just seasonal?
More turkeys. Yeah, absolutely more turkeys. But Marcus and I both cut our teeth working with deer, so have a lot of deer biology and management background and knowledge as well. And what's funny, Bobby, is it almost feels like, because a lot of people know that we're turkey guys, and so if we go out to work with them, they start out with, turkeys first and only. But then the more you talk to them and you're driving around the property and stuff and you look and it's like, there's a deer stand, shooting house. It's like, and then they start showing you pictures of deer that they've killed. And you're like, okay, so this is not just a turkey only property. You have some deer objectives as well. And so it's rare that we don't incorporate both species into management.
Do you think it's, I had thought about an analogy like fish pond management, and I'm always heard from fish biologists, not exactly acre for acre, but the larger the pond, and especially habitat and cover too, but the larger the pond, the more it kind of manages itself a little better, instead of the smaller and cleaner it is, you got to be really disciplined. It seems like maybe too that it's just like deer are a little bit easier and don't need quite so much help as, they'll flourish and adapt in almost any conditions. I mean, I live in the edge of town now. There's deer I'm in the city limits, and there's just an overabundance of deer right under your nose everywhere.
Yeah.
So it just seems like the turkeys need more help, kind of like the fish analogy.
Yeah, I actually think about it that way a lot, Toxie, and I talk to the landowners. Everyone that I work with has a secondary deer interest, and that's super common. But what we focus on is, let's be really deliberate about providing turkeys what they need. and those things are also good for deer.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So a lot of that is coming from the turkey habitat management. There are a couple of things that we might add into it, for example, by strategically incorporating some high quality bedding cover for deer so that we can anchor deer to it. It's really a powerful thing for you as a hunter to know where all the deer are bedding when you're coming onto your property. And you can strategically locate that. That's not for turkey production. That's it's kind of too rank and thick for that, but it can be a real powerful thing from your deer management's perspective. So strategically locating that in places that you can access without disturbing it for your deer hunting can be really important. But outside of that, focusing on turkey productivity is getting you a lot of the way for deer.
It is.
Laney, go ahead.
I was just, y'all brought up deer. We and this is all anecdotal, we think our deer harvest is substantially less than it has been in previous years. Are y'all seeing the same thing in Alabama and where you are, Marcus?
Yeah, I've heard some whispers about that in Alabama. And I mean, going all the way back to when I was in graduate school, I went to University of Georgia and I had a great relationship with the state agency there too. And I remember talking to their deer biologist at the time, and him mentioning that pretty much every year that they have one of these bumper acorn crops, they see harvest decline, and that's a pretty true no matter where you go.
Yeah.
I guess they just don't have to move as much.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
not
right.
get in the openings. Yeah.
I've said it forever.
Yeah,
you can have a place full of deer, but if they're not moving, you're not going to see anything.
Yeah.
That's right.
So looking at both of y'all, landowners this spring, what if they were going to plant things, what would you guys kind of concentrate on? We're in the South, so clover was probably planted in the fall, hopefully, I would think. Y'all may have some tips to try to plant it in the spring, but what are you looking at? Chufa probably bubbles up in your mind, but
Not
what
now.
else?
Not now, though. It's too late for that.
Well,
This summer you can. But
Lanny always
You're feeding
broadcasts.
Chufa. No, you're feeding Chufa.
Lanny broadcasts Chufa
No,
right
no.
early
Bobby,
March.
you do.
Bobby, I think you kind of.
He's projecting here. He's projecting.
Yeah, Bobby kind of stepped in it there. I'm sorry.
he did.
Oh,
Oh.
I mean,
You plant that stuff?
you know,
Is that what you said?
what
I'm just saying
what
it-
would you plant this spring?
Yes. Okay. I was
After
making-
turkey season, we're going to let
I
turkey
thought
season
you
get
meant
over.
right now. That's
No,
why I was
no,
like-
after turkey season.
Okay.
Toxic.
There you go.
Let's caveat.
Well,
Give him a web redemption.
You threw me like a soft,
I did.
fastball up
I
high.
did.
I had to
And then
hit
try
it.
to point it at me.
Yeah. That thing zinged right over my head. Okay. Do y'all remember the question? Or should we start?
I don't.
Was there a question? I was just listening to y'all fight over whatever y'all were talking about.
What
the
to
question?
plant?
Yeah, it's what will we be planting for turkeys this time of year?
Or post turkey
After turkey season, yeah.
after
Caveat
turkey
that.
season.
Spring plantings,
Yeah, Bobby.
spring, early summer plantings.
As y'all talked about a little bit after turkey season for most of us, chufa is a really popular plant, and that there's no question that chufa is extraordinary in its attractiveness to turkeys. If you have pigs, you're going to have problems.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. But the other thing, when I'm working with landowners to think about with chufa is it is very attractive, but it's not necessarily influencing productivity of your turkey population. So thinking about having some of your openings in something that's a little better for brooding, is of great concern.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind when you're thinking about how you're going to manage those openings. So having some chufa, absolutely super attractive. We all have seen that, turkeys love chufa, but the structure in chufa is not very good for brooding.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I wonder, just out of curiosity, and I know it's going to vary soil to soil, climate to climate, but how long, if you start a spot and you say, I've got 10 acres here and I'm going to turn it into what y'all ideally look for, I mean, the first thing you're going to do is let it go. I mean, you might tell us to go ahead and kind of disc it one time or something to disturb the soil, but then how long would you let that get into the early successional year after year after year until you decided to put a match to it? And I know it depends on what's growing back there and all. And I think from listening to you, you would want to see something that you feel like when you burn it, it's going to be real clumpy, where a lot of openings and a lot of clumps included. But I mean, in general, how long would you let something go and not do anything to it if you're going to develop that?
Yeah, so my general process with that, and I'm doing this actually on a 7-acre clearing that I'm working with a landowner on right next to my house right now, and I said in one of our recent episodes on our show that I was going to do kind of a documentary series of going through this because we get this question so much. But basically, this was a place that was overgrown with just natural regeneration following clear cut, so hardwood everywhere, most of it, a lot of invasive woody species as well. And so we've just cleared it with a dozer, piled everything up and burned it, and we're starting from bare mineral soil right now. And in a lot of situations, the first thing that you have to do before you start out is not just let it take off and grow, but it's rather you probably have a pasture grass problem that you have to deal with first if it's been open for a while. Right. So if it's a warm season pasture grass, I'm thinking about getting that area prepped, whether it's burning or mowing. Sometimes if people have equipment, they can even hay it first. And what you're doing there is you're trying to just remove all the other vegetative material, especially the dead stuff, out of the way so that you can get that fresh flush of growth that will allow your herbicide to contact the plants that you're trying to kill and get effective control of that. If you've got a cool season grass problem, the best time of the year to do the same process is going to be in fall, when they start actively growing. So once that's out of the way, typically for the first couple of growing seasons, if I got good control of my pasture grass, I'm just going to be going out there, and this is the method that Craig Harper has described many times before, so I have to give credit where it's due, and just spot spraying the stuff that is remaining that I don't like with like a 3% solution of glyphosate. Just go out there with a no cab tractor, and you're just hitting this, hitting that, hitting this, hitting that. On a side-by-side is even a good way to do it as well. I've done it that way many times. And so I might do that for a summer or two, starting each year in June. And I'm hitting those sweet gums. I'm hitting those invasive species that I don't like, that aren't really contributing to my turkey cover. And then after those couple of growing seasons, if it starts getting to the point where the height, as Marcus mentioned earlier, it was a really important factor, is too tall for a hen to effectively see through that, that's when I start thinking about setting it back with fire. And then oftentimes, like you said, Toxie, this is going to vary depending on the soil quality and soil moisture and things like that and how fast things grow. But most places I go in the Southeast, I'm burning usually every other year. If my goal is to have brooding and nesting cover, the year that I burn it is typically going to provide brooding cover. The year after I burn it is typically going to provide nesting cover. I continue that pattern most of the time until I start seeing the grass density get really high, because that's eventually going to happen if you just are managing the area with fire. And then I think about using a little bit of soil disturbance, maybe with a light disking or something like that, to break up that grass density and reduce it back down in favor of the forbs again. And so once I've done that, I let it continue growing for a couple of years, and then I'm just managing it with fire again. And throughout that entire process, of course, if anything, invasive or undesirable comes up, I'm just going back and spot spraying it. And the great thing about incorporating the spot spray application into that approach is that you end up with kind of this, as we would use in academia, we say it'd be a heterogeneous mixture of plants, meaning you've got some areas that are younger in terms of their successional stage, and they're growing those heavy seeded annuals. And then you have some areas that are more dominated by perennial plants and warm season grasses, so they're providing more cover. And so you can imagine that as you develop this matrix over time, not only do you have a lot of plant diversity, but you have a lot of structural diversity as well. So you're meeting more of the needs of the turkey in a smaller area.
Wow. Yeah,
well said.
Structural diversity.
Yeah, the biggest thing, the biggest dark spot for us at this table, except maybe Dudley, is recognizing what you don't want for sure.
Yes.
True. And so getting to be a student of that, it helps a lot. That's
I was
going
to say, Toxie, one of the things I spend a lot of time and even, in my current role, trying to put out video content to show people what they are looking for. What does that structure look like? Taking the time to try to visualize what are you looking for, and then catering your management practices to cause the plant community to look like what you want it to look like. And then when it doesn't, knowing what to do to convert it back into the structure that you want again. So that's really the meat of this whole conversation right there, is becoming, a student, as you said, of what you're trying to accomplish. What does that look like? How do we use these tools at our disposal to cause it to look like that? And then making sure, particularly for turkeys, that we have an adequate amount of it distributed through the property. And I generally, when I'm thinking about that, I'm really focusing on trying to make sure that I have really high quality nesting cover and really high quality brooding cover, and having them close to one another, because a 3-day-old poult right out of the egg can't go very far. So, where that nesting cover needs to be fairly close to that poult rearing cover.
Yes.
And if you're accomplishing that and distributing it, your turkey population can be very productive. You're providing them with all the things that they need. And I'll add one more thing to what Will was saying earlier. In the situation that Will laid out with that 7-acre field, you're probably getting a large enough field where you might be able to manage it for different stages even within the field and accomplish that. So you might have nesting and brooding cover right together there.
Yes.
And the other thing I wanted to add is you can do things with your forest management that can really enhance things, not just by providing nesting and brooding cover in the woods, because you can do that really effectively with enough sunlight and a fire regime. We can accomplish high quality nesting and brooding cover, but you can also help with connectivity throughout the landscape, so that a nesting hen can get her brood to brooding cover and then take that brood anywhere she wants on the property without ever having to leave it. And when we're creating that kind of situation, that's when you can really take the cap off of it and let the population explode.
Well, it also tells me that if you're maybe a little bit of a novice, you'd be better off to be a little heavier on the burn if you had to err on the side of the 50-50. And what he said a minute ago makes sense too. What I haven't done a good enough job in the past, and I've kind of started on my mind last couple of years, just the postage stamp effect. And if you keep those, and if you're burning on 2-year regimen, well, if you're keeping those adjacent, then you're swapping them to where there's there's a nesting and a rearing adjacent all the time.
It's hard to look at a unit or a burn unit and not want to burn it every year.
No. Well, Dudley, there's nothing wrong with having some that are on an annual cycle.
Right. Yeah.
That can
There you go.
produce high quality brooding cover year after year. But I will say, most of the time when I step on a property, they are not disturbing frequently enough.
Yeah.
Right.
So hedging your bets and being more frequent is usually a good thing.
Here's another place you can bring seasonality back in too, because some of these places, they grow so tall so fast that you almost need an annual burn rotation to keep them in the right structure for turkeys. So maybe you burn some of it, in February, and that area is going to be more developed by the time you get around to, the time that the poults are hatching and the hens are starting to brood and things like that, depending on where you are. And then you have other areas that you burn later in the summer. So you're not erasing all your cover at once. So you leave some of those areas thicker, and you're going to burn them later in the growing season, and you burn some of them, in the dormant season, so that they're going to be more open. And that's how you can start getting some diversity that way.
We've been picking up on the late summer burning.
Man, it's
It's not as easy as it sounds.
Let me tell you, you need to be in better shape. I know that.
Well, it depends on if but sometimes in the canopy you may not have enough fuel to burn good at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it's all real lush green. The question I asked the other day to somebody too was, so y'all would be a fan of, just say we did a midwinter burn, and you could lightly disc it. You would recommend that, right? After the burn in the middle of the winter?
You could. Sometimes I recommend that, especially if it's to the point where it gets really thick with grasses and it's hard to get a disc to cut through it. I'll burn it first and then I'll disc it. And I've seen good, favorable response after that. And it oftentimes creates a really open structure underneath too when you use both.
how late is too late is my question about that, where you could just say you burn a big area that's like prairie grasses and stuff too, and you wanted to go back in and a little bit like a patchwork to be safe, but how late is too late to be disturbing it after that with a little bit of disking?
Down here, I would want to get it done by February.
Okay. So we're right at the limit right now.
You really need a window of dormant season
right
after you disc.
Okay.
Okay.
So, guys, this is a good time to point out. I mean, we just heard all these great explanations about what people need to be doing. You guys have a seminar coming up here pretty soon at the end of the month.
Sign up.
Can you tell us about that? How do we get signed up?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, Bobby. But this is something that I think Will and I have both tried to address in many ways. People, they hear us talking about things, they see what we're putting out online, and they want more. They want access to us. So we've started this in-person seminar, and this is our second one that we've had. It's at the end of the month in Eufaula, Alabama. And we're going to spend all day there. Folks can sign up. We can provide links so that you can sign up beforehand. Make sure you go ahead and do that because we don't have much time left to sign up. But the idea is to get everybody in the same room, and Will and I have put together a really comprehensive day, essentially talking about everything that you need to know about managing a turkey population and your land to maximize turkey productivity. And we go through a variety of topics. We're talking about fire regimes, predator management. We have a part of the day that we spend showing how we have worked with landowners to set up their property. So it's kind of, putting all of it together and showing how you might lay that out, because, this can get pretty complex and overwhelming, especially if you have a sizable piece of land. It's difficult, to put it all together in a format that works for your land and also works for the turkey population. Yeah. So that's the idea with this is, we're right there. We're going through all this in one day and putting it together for people, and also, having discussions one-on-one with these people, answering questions and talking about, the whole management strategy.
Sure.
With everybody.
And you can only learn so much and from a podcast
That's
or
right.
reading a pub or whatever to kind of see it and do it. It's like having an apprentice.
So where do guys go to sign up?
Being an apprentice, it helps.
Yeah, you can just go to, so we partnered with Wildlife Investments to offer this. So you can go to wildlifeinvestments.com.
We know those guys.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And you click on the menu at the top of the screen, and there should be a drop down for, I think it's educational events. If you click on that tab, it'll pop up at the top of the page, and there's a registration link right there.
We'll be sure to put that in the show notes.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
I think Bronson whispered in my ear that the first person to sign up gets it free.
Oh, wow.
That said they listened to it on our podcast.
Out of way, Bronson.
Yeah.
How about
Cut
that?
the check,
did.
Bronson.
Yeah.
I like it. Oh, bankroll Bronson.
Yeah, so as soon as you hear this, go ahead and sign up. I will also mention, not everybody can come to that location, so we do change locations, or at least we have the first couple of times. So you might get another chance. Also, we've got several people that have signed up for the second time. So they obviously gained a lot of value from the first time and felt like it was worth it to come again. So, keep that in mind.
Yeah. We should host one in West Point.
Yeah, but, these guys know.
We could do it at the Ponderosa.
Yeah, Bobby's got all the turkeys. We ought to be able to show them.
Love to have y'all.
And I will add, I've been seeing
pins included.
I've been seeing a couple really good FSI, TSI videos.
Yeah, no doubt.
If you act quick, there's one of Marcus with a pair of bright orange chainsaw chaps on. And
he's showing you how to kill some stumps.
Yeah. I learned a lot.
That was
about
very
that
explanatory.
Me too. Yeah, it was good stuff. Y'all are doing a good
In fact,
job
my
out there.
wife told me about it.
There
She
you go.
said,
You know what?
You ought to check it
It
out.
was the middle of deer season. It was actually Thanksgiving week when I was wearing those things. That was my orange.
There you
Okay.
go.
That'd be
That'll
legal
work.
out in the deer woods.
Perfect.
You were sure visual. That's
Yeah.
right.
All right. Well, I'm looking at you. Through the years, we have asked you and Marcus a bunch of trivia questions.
Don't
and
do this to us,
you
Bobby.
guys, you wanted to ask us one
Oh,
this time.
no.
So we're going to let you have it.
Are we still 100%?
We are 100%.
Oh, no.
So the Peanut Patch trivia question.
I'm scared.
I
Hey,
am
knock
too.
on wood. Everybody knock on wood.
Yeah.
Bobby will jinx the best.
Well,
of
you
the
got to
best.
stick your neck out. You can't.
No, you don't.
I'm scared.
You
Yeah.
can't.
No.
Can we
Pride-
dial a friend?
Yeah.
Pride cometh before
All right.
fall, Bobby.
All right,
Somebody call
Marcus, you want
Bronson.
to ask
Get
it or you
Bronson
want me
on the
to?
phone.
Just remember who we edit
Either
this
way.
thing. So.
Hey, this
I
is
can
flat.
do it.
This is football in the backyard, and I get picked for. I pick Marcus.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Will.
All right,
So
I'm
here's
ready.
the,
Go.
here's the
I'll pick-
question.
I'll
You
pick these
ready?
guys.
Oh, man.
All right, here's the question. So, what is the doubling time in weeks of a wild turkey poult's body mass?
Oh, my goodness.
So, from
So if we
hatch,
have
Toxic
Yeah, right out of
knows this
hatch.
right off the
Yeah.
top of
how
his
long
head.
does it take for it to double in weight right after it hatches out of the egg?
In
So-
weeks?
So whoa. So you're saying the
Or you
weight?
can do days if you like.
Okay.
Let me make sure
What
the
would be
starting
better?
day is it the weight immediately upon hatching.
Yeah, as soon as it pops out of the egg, that weight is somewhere usually 50-something grams. So y'all can convert that to ounces. I don't know what it is in ounces.
You got that?
That's what you
Yeah.
said doubling.
But how long does it take it to double?
To
And
get
you
to
can do
100.
days if you'd prefer. You can do weeks.
So do we have to get together on it? Or we all get a guess?
I think we all maybe get a guess. That gives us a better chance.
Gives us everybody guess
Is there-
something different.
What are the rules here?
Everybody,
No.
can we get a multiple choice?
I'm gonna
with
go-
4 answers, please?
Yeah, we got 5 chances.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
I'm
they got
gonna go
Richard
with.
Why don't we put $20 down on the table?
No.
You
It's
if
not,
you're
it's not-
confident enough, put it
We're not
down.
in a legal state.
Okay.
I'm also
We're-
don't want
we're
to
playing
lose
for
20
peanuts.
bucks.
So.
I'm gonna say 2 days.
Well, okay. Well, they said weeks at first.
How many
so-
weeks? No. You said how many weeks
We
for
said-
it to double?
we
from
did
a-
say
You
weeks.
can give it in days if you like.
Obviously,
that's fine.
It's
obviously,
more than 7.
I'm gonna go to.
I
Yeah,
would-
no.
I know what my answer is.
What are you going to say?
I'm gonna say 7 days, 1 week.
The least
And
amount
it-
of time possible. I would have thought it would be
I would
less
think it
than
would.
that.
Yeah.
I would
they-
think it'd be less than 7.
If they hadn't said that, I said 2
I
or
mean,
3
they're
days.
flying
Yeah.
in
Yep.
what? Not long.
In a
I
couple
mean, they
of weeks.
look like a
14
quail and they're
14
flying.
days,
Yeah.
they're flying.
I'm still gonna stick with like 3 days.
Aren't they flying in 14 days?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Just
Are you going? You're going
We got,
to set,
got that right. So
Everybody knows that, Bobby. My granddaughter knows that one.
All right, Dud says 7. Toxie says
3 days still.
I'm gonna say.
Are you gonna do?
He
like,
said weeks. It would mess me put the
I know he
S on
did.
it.
that
That
kinda
could
is
be
messing
throwing
me
you
up.
off.
So I'm
too.
gonna go 14. So I'm gonna take the.
No way.
Wow, he said weeks.
and I had 4 days in my mind right before I learned that it might be weeks. I had
So
4
you
days.
just cut Toxie off, but I mean
not
that's
fair.
probably that's fair. I mean,
That's not weeks, Bob. You got to go on it some.
We got 3, 4, 7, and 14.
I'll go 5.
And I know I'm wrong.
I'll go 5 days.
Richie,
3 days.
what you got, dog.
I still say 2 weeks too.
No.
2 weeks.
No way.
No.
you got to. Okay.
That's what you would say 8.
No.
All I can remember is
I got
I got 2
Marcus
for 2 weeks.
describing to me how remarkably fast,
Fast they grow. That's what threw
Well,
me off
so
when he
that-
said weeks.
that-
Well,
he
then
ne-
you should change your answer to 2 days.
Maybe I could say
Well, I
half a
said
week.
2, but I'm gonna go to 3. Because
Yeah.
y'all
Well,
got the week thing got me.
All right,
Come on,
we're
Marcus.
ready.
Did
Bring it.
anybody get it?
On our in our poult project last year, on average, it took about 13 days for them to double.
I got it. 14, 2
Well,
weeks.
yeah,
No,
we got to give that to him.
So
Yeah,
we-
but
one
if
thing,
the-
get the
one
right
thing,
answer.
He said
that
in
you
weeks,
guys-
and I said 2.
If it was Price is Right, you would have gone over and you would have lost.
He said weeks, and I said 2. You can't say 1.5.
I think Lanny got it.
So
think
how
I
long?
did
Let me
too.
ask you this:
And
how
Richie.
how long does it take to double again? Calm down, being so excited.
Sorry.
My gosh.
I'm not right much.
So you got one right, okay. How long to double again after 13 days?
The same.
13
About
more days.
13 more days.
Yep.
How
Wow.
about that?
So one thing that you guys
Lucky 13.
you may not have thought of is when right after they hatch, they're dependent on absorbing the yolk. So they're not really good
They
at
lose
foraging
weight.
yet for the
Right.
first little while, and they lose some weight. Yep.
That makes sense.
Babies do that.
Yeah, they
sometimes.
sure do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the
my
context.
little
clues.
chicken-
I
chicken
think we
chicks
got
do
that
that.
one right,
I'd
Marcus.
say 100%.
And look,
that was
y'all,
pretty close.
y'all can't get out of here unscathed. We've got a trivia question for you
man.
guys. So,
You know that I'm terrible at trivia.
all right, let's go, Rich.
All right,
Y'all were just doing
Ask
that to
him
make us feel
ask
good.
him the tail fan question again.
Oh, they already got
All
that.
right, our listener who left a review, Sea Hair 74.
Sea Hair 74.
That would not be me. That would not be me or Bobby. I hadn't seen hair in like 15 years. I don't know.
It's brought to you by Rogaine.
Great podcast. Love the habitat management episodes. Keep up the great work. So again, our trivia is brought to us by
The peanut patch. So let's
buddy.
go. Let's go, Rich.
I can't wait to
Bobby.
get some
Bobby's in
peanuts
such a
after-
hurry. He wants to get this question out,
Yeah.
even though it's like an
These guys
essay over
gotta
here.
go.
So, in Bobby's never-ending quest to provide interesting supper table discussion for our listeners, we have a question about a bird you might see at your feeder. The human heart beats at about 70 beats per minute, just over 1 beat per second. How many beats per minute does a cardinal's heart beat during the winter?
I mean, good grief, Bobby. Yeah.
What about the summer?
I mean, can you give
That
be
is
less
so-
specific?
Well,
Early winter, late winter.
I mean,
this winter, we'll take an
on
average.
February 17th, what is the average heartbeat of a cardinal?
I knew the
That's in
13th.
full plumage while it's looking at a female.
Well, they ask us how long does it take
Feeder
a
or some other kind of seed.
Yeah, that's right.
Bobby.
Protein or carbs. I mean,
well, they ask us how long it takes a turkey to double. How many days?
That was
that was
at
a
least
It's a little
legitimate
better
question.
than heart rate.
At least we could
All right.
guess that one.
So we're looking for the heart rate beats per minute for a
Cardinal.
cardinal.
Yeah, any time
Northern
it's
cardinal,
gotta be
I presume?
super
For a
high.
cardinal.
Yeah, it's high.
I'll go with 200 beats per minute.
I would say 190.
Ooh, I like
Oh, he's
that.
cutting you off.
Yeah.
Can we give him a little bit higher than that?
Yeah, you might want to try that again.
250.
Maybe triple it.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow.
600?
380.
All right, so the answer is 600 beats per minute and around
Wow.
1,000 when in flight.
Good grief.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah,
That is
I've heard
incredible.
what's the hummingbird is one that's credible.
Yeah, that's all.
What is it, Bobby?
That'll
You
be
should
next
know.
time.
What is the hummingbird when it's flying,
in,
Bobby?
in the spring, though, this time.
Yeah.
Okay, so Will, tonight you can go home at supper and you can amaze somebody with how many beats per minute. a
Man, that's just a
cardinal-
normal dinner time conversation around my house.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know what? My daughter probably would have known the answer to that.
Yeah.
I
Mine
could have
too.
phoned a friend. Yeah.
But
But I
seriously,
need to,
oh, go ahead.
clearly, I need to brush up on my cardinal biology.
I mean, some of these classes they have to take in wildlife school are insane. So, it's like you have to memorize 400 bird wings,
Oh, yeah. For ID.
Or-
Good for them.
or you have to memorize the sound that like
Mm-hmm.
400 birds make, and they play a sound, and you've got to say, "Well, that's a ruby-crowned kinglet."
Crested warbler.
Yeah.
You know what it is, Bobby?
Yeah.
So
Whatever. Let's get back to something relevant to the discussion.
Hey,
That's right.
I wanted to add one more
I'm not
interesting
going-
point to y'all about
I'm not going
the
there.
turkey
All right.
mass thing is if we grew as fast as turkeys, I had to look this up because I knew I had it written down somewhere. If we grew as fast as turkeys, a newborn 7-pound baby would weigh nearly 500 pounds by the time it was 4 months old.
Woo.
Oh, my
It's a
goodness.
whopper.
Look at that, Bobby.
Yeah. Now that's fast growth.
That's
Sumo
fast,
wrestler stuff.
It needs a lot of bugs to do
It needs
that.
a lot of bugs. And I mean, we talked about that earlier. You see these cicada hatches and how the turkey populations respond. It shows you what bugs can do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing today, it just again and again and again after years of this, the darkest spot we have is and it's the most vast thing to learn is all the native plant species and the
Yes.
stuff about them. And we've talked about it before with people to remind them not to. You guys would have a good one to recommend to them, but these are so many good apps now, especially
Yes.
the
Yes.
inception of AI. Go out there and I was thinking, how am I going to know if it's? I mean, I know some, but some of this stuff is you might have some rare stuff. I remember, real quick example, having a failure with armyworms eating up like 100 acres of millet on me, and the next thing I know, this beautiful purple flower just covers up the whole. I've never seen it before, and I forgot who I ended up asking. Oh, it was Dr. Kaminsky at State at the time was the waterfowl guru. He said that's the most worthless thing you could possibly have in your waterfowl tank. He called the name of it, and it was like this, basically like hot pepper.
Yeah, water
for 'em
pepper.
to eat it.
Yeah.
No, what I don't know. Was it loose strife maybe?
Oh,
I can't
no.
remember.
Blue strife.
Hopefully not.
Purple- yeah, like it was a bad one, and so I wouldn't have known. And so if you're walking through something, you're trying to. You have your own personal habitat project, which I encourage everybody out there to try.
Amen.
So maybe we could do something better on the Gamekeeper site or through you to publish information about some of them. You could probably look it up too, but it could be like top 50 wanted plants, top 50 unwanted plants. So you could know through your app what they were. And it's like, well, I need to smoke this one or I need to encourage this one.
I think I've got iNaturalist. Is that right?
Yeah,
That's a really good one.
Yeah, I've been using
Seek
it.
is also a really good one that's a little bit
it's
more
one of-
user friendly. And,
Yeah.
Dudley
Seek.
can attest to this. If you know about 30 plants, herbaceous plant species, that's going to cover probably over 80% of what you see in these areas that we manage for brooding and nesting cover. Of course, there's going to be stuff out there that it doesn't occur as frequently, but the vast majority of plants, if you use one of these apps or even the iPhone, if you take a picture now and you swipe up on it, it'll try to ID it for you.
Gosh, and insects and everything else
That's right.
nowadays.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, and another like fringe benefit of those is there's nothing like looking at like an expert to your hunting buddies, like knowing
Yeah, that's
native
right.
plants.
Yeah.
I can't tell you many times now that I've had an app for maybe 5 or 6 years. Someone would send something to me. Hey man, could you ask like Dudley or someone what this is? And I pause a second and say, well, I don't need him. It's such and such,
Yeah.
such and such. And I'm looking up on the app.
I get way fewer texts from my buddies now
Yeah.
about that.
So, guys,
Yeah.
we'd do a good job of this. We'd say, what did we learn today?
Too much to talk about.
Yeah.
I tell you what I learned, that it's the 1.5-year-old bucks that are getting dispersed because I thought it was the button bucks.
You did.
All this time, I've been
I knew
thinking
that.
she would run off the button buck.
No. It's the one
Marcus,
and a half.
Marcus, you don't have to laugh at me
Mr.
now, Marcus.
Whitetail learned
It's
something
the-
today.
It's the
I hear
teenager,
you.
dude.
I'm admitting I learned something.
So right before gun season starts, they get,
I
the
thought
one
it was
in
the
or
button buck all
bow
along.
I
season
think
or
if
something.
I remember right, it was Georgia that founded that research when they were reading it to us back then, and they were saying that they would sometimes go as like miles and miles away,
But we
like
talk,
repellent.
but we talk about seeing button bucks by themselves in the winter, and you're like, Mama's run her off.
No, because mom is
Mom got
sheltered.
put in the-
She's sheltered in place from getting chased by everybody.
Yes.
Or mom got put in the freezer.
That's
Yes.
true. Yeah.
Very,
Both
very
of those.
common.
All right.
Which means less
Well,
dispersion.
I'm admitting I learned something.
Look at you, Bobby. You don't know everything.
Listen, guys, y'all should go to the seminar. Will and Marcus said it'd be a great time. You'll probably see Bronson there, but he doesn't know much about turkeys. Though,
We'll keep him around to look good.
yeah.
There
What
you
does he
go.
take money at the door?
No, he'll be serving lunch.
He's good at that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
boy.
thank y'all. I'm sure that'll be a very educational seminar. It'd be worth everybody's time to try to go to that.
Yes.
All right, guys. Looking at what
Couple of things.
Yeah, but
rotate.
just seeing you two perks me up because it's that time of year.
That's right.
Yeah.
Knowing we're talking about the rebirth of the world and the things we love the
Spring
most.
is awesome.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
So,
Big time.
so guys, y'all can go to their seminar, but at the NWTF, you guys will probably come by our booth some.
Yeah.
Dudley and I will be at the
And look for
NWTF booth.
Jackson.
Toxie will be there.
He's going to have a QR code on his
Very
shirt, and you can scan it and get registered for us giving away what, Bobby?
A new Rete Gamekeeper Edition 20-gauge shotgun.
What's it got on the end of it?
And it's got a silencer central suppressor, shotgun suppressor.
I'm
Wow.
telling you. So, yeah, track Jackson down.
That's all I need is for Marcus to get back into Sumter County with one of those things. I'll never catch him.
He'll never hear you, Marcus. It's perfect.
I'll never catch him.
Yeah, we might need to name this one after Marcus, actually. But yeah,
Y'all come see us. Sign
Come
up
see
for
us.
that. Somebody's going to win the shotgun.
somebody's going to win the shotgun. 400 giveaway still going on, too, so keep on signing up for that. We're trying to give everything
that's
we
a
can.
separate one.
That is a separate one. That's right. So there's multiple ways.
We love giving stuff
All
away.
right, guys.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yep.
I appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate everybody listening.
It's go time,
Yes,
folks.
it is.
The goblin
Thanks
has
for having us,
started.
guys.
Get
It
out
is
there
go
and-
time.
Work on your place.
Yep.
Yep. Will, Marcus, we'll give y'all the last word. What have you got to say?
Sure appreciate y'all having us, and I'll see folks if they stop by at the convention. I'm planning on hanging out with you guys some.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Always a good time, y'all.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Will.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Marcus.
We enjoyed it.
Yeah, we always enjoy
Why
y'all.
don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Richie.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast. And be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.